Okay. Hi, everyone, again. Thank you for joining our mini MBA info session. I'm Sue, the marketing coordinator for continuing education at the University of Windsor. We wanted to introduce you to the mini MBA program, which offers 6 interactive courses that provide a comprehensive overview of core business functions. These courses together will allow you to understand the basics of all functional areas, such as applying strategy and providing strategic insights within your organization. Also learning to view the big picture of an organization and why these core areas are so important to a successful business. You can also build connections and relationships through networking through this program as well, and overall operate more effectively when you're working in a team environment. So just a quick overview of the agenda. I just did a brief introduction to the program, but our instructors will dive a little deeper into their specific areas and what will be covered. I'll go into some more program specifics like dates, times, and costs, and then we can head into the Q&A. Also a note that Benny and Vincent unexpectedly had to step away, so I will be covering an overview of their courses as well. So our first speaker is Diana Sarkis, who will be your instructor for the Human Resources Management Essentials. Diana has extensive experience in labor relations, recruitment, training, and development, and strategic human resources practices. She holds a master's in industrial relations, a specialized advanced degree in human resources and labor relations, and is an instructor in our applied leadership program as well, along with programs in the Odette School of Business. Diana, thank you for joining us today. Please let us a little bit into your professional world and tell us more about HR management.
Okay. So just to what has already been added, I would like to add that I have over 14 years of human resource experience. And actually, most of my experience has been in the public sector and with very large organizations. So recognizing that gave me a lot of exposure to a lot of HR issues. So I still practice today, as mentioned, as an HR consultant, where I work with organizations all throughout Canada, typically on more complex HR issues, but recognizing it keeps my practice up to date. So I've been teaching at the Odette School of Business for the past about 6 years now, where I primarily teach management courses at both the graduate and undergraduate level. And typically, more of my passion is working with professionals such as yourself with these real world issues. So add on to my more of a little bit of my education. I'm actually currently working on a doctoral degree, not surprising, in HR online, but I also completed a master's of labor relations at Queen's and of course a bachelor's of commerce at Odette. I also hold a certified human resource leader designation, which is all I want to simply say is you can trust me with my HR expertise. Another piece on a personal component, I will share with you all, human resources is truly my passion, and I really am excited to talk to you all about the HR module. It's an exciting module, it's an important module. So let's get into my portion of the mini MBA now. One thing I will say, no matter where you're all sitting in the organization, it's more likely that you've had some exposure to the HR functions, whether it be recruitment, right, hiring, rewarding, performance management, training, maybe a little bit more discipline. So, recognizing we will be discussing these topics in the sessions, but not only will we give you an overview of the fundamental concepts and best practices, we're actually going to go a step further than that and look at how these functions are actually utilized at a strategic level. One thing I say to no matter what audience I'm speaking to, humans, people are complex. And this is where I think the HR function is so important. We recognize people are complex, but they're also fundamental, right? They're pivotal to organizational success. So I would suggest making sure that we motivate, foster positive partnerships with our employees is so important. And this session will actually give you the tools kit to do it effectively and confident. So recognizing you may be doing things already that you do quite well, but this will complement what you're already doing. So to go over the curriculum, we have a good holistic view of the HR practices, starting off with the legislation or the legal requirements of the employment relationship. So looking at legislation such as, of course, the Employment Standards Act, the Occupational Health and Safety Act, Labor Relations Act for those of you in unionized work environments. And actually, I would suggest in this day and age, going over the Ontario Human Rights Codes and making sure participants have a solid understanding of those requirements is something we spend a lot of time in our session talking about. Next, we're actually going to talk more about recruitment and selection strategies. And I will highlight to you, recruitment and selection are actually two different things. So recruitment is getting people more interested in your organization. And selection is doing more of the things that we think about in terms of actually conducting interviews, employment testing, those types of considerations. But in this area, we'll make sure that you have the skills to attract and retain the best employees for your own individual organization, right? Matching employees to the right job is important, but additionally, matching employees to the right organization is equally important as well. We're also going to talk about the strategic implications of everything you do in relation to employees within the organization and spending a good chunk of talking about managing in a unionized environment. So, recognizing, and when we talked about my educational background, I spent a lot of time studying labor relations. And I actually see it more as a partnership in order that we work effectively with our union partners, but still recognizing that there are challenges and how do we overcome that. We're also going to talk about training and development, that function, and looking at how to effectively look at an organizational needs analysis to ensure we're setting up our employees for the best success possible in this perspective. In terms of the assignment for the HRM module, we actually work on a labor management simulation for an employee relations issue. And actually, if I recall, I think it may be a termination. And recognizing this exercise is practical. It allows you to apply everything you learned in the two sessions to a real situation that is no different to things that you see, what you're dealing with today, and the work that you do. So I also want us to remember that I said earlier in my session, people are complex. So the more we feel comfortable with dealing with our employees and the employee relation issues that come in leading people, the more confident you will be in a people leader, as a people leader, and this session will set you up for that success.
Well, thank you, Diana. So many insights here, and I do appreciate your passion for HR as you've demonstrated in this program and as an educator too. So thank you so much. Our next speaker is Mark Pecco, who will be teaching data analytics essentials. Mark is a certified business intelligence professional and educator, consultant, and manager with expertise in data management and analytics, business analysis, and process improvement. He holds an undergraduate and graduate degrees in engineering from the University of Waterloo and works with clients to identify and implement key capabilities needed to drive results from their investments in data and analytics. Mark teaches companies on a global basis how to implement and govern intelligent business solutions. Mark, welcome. Please tell us a bit more about your professional background and about the data analytics course.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thanks for the introduction. I'll give you a perspective. As noted, I have an engineering education, and it's been several years ago since I was studying that. But data has been the common theme through my whole career. I started off sort of the first decade and a bit in my career working in the process control and automation field in the energy industry. And I learned all about because I went through a program for this large company. I was a large pipeline company, and we were modernizing and upgrading their data acquisition and data collection systems for the control center. And I was working in their central control center, and I learned a lot about how people use data, how data has issues and quality issues, how to visualize data. Technology in those days was going through major changes about using different kinds of formats and styles to present information to people. But really, it was focused on decision making and how people could form mental pictures of things they were trying to improve and monitor. So that was about a decade and a bit, and I learned a lot about data and the human interaction with data. The next sort of chunk of my career was also about a decade and a little bit, and I joined a large engineering consulting firm that was international, and I was eventually heading up their advanced systems group. And in that capacity, we had many industrial and resource-based clients. And my group did lots of database systems. We did a lot of predictive models for controlling equipment at plants and mines and that kind of stuff. And again, it was all about going back to the human resources discussion previously. A lot of stuff here is about humans interacting with data and technology. And I'm going to try to emphasize that as well. I've been self-employed for the last couple of decades now, since the early 2000s. And being self-employed, I've learned that I like teaching. I've learned I like doing research, and I've learned I like doing consulting. And that's what I do today. So in my current capacity, I teach for the University of Windsor through their continuing education program, but I also teach through other organizations in the professional development field. Some of them are US based. And with that, I get opportunities to talk to companies in different parts of the world. And I learn where they struggle and where they're trying to improve. And my observations have been that fundamentally, people tell me that their companies are investing heavily in data and data analytics, but the executives are kind of saying, like, where's the return? Where's the dividend? Where's the payback on all this? And what I've learned, and what seems to be obvious to me, maybe to you as well, is that the pursuit of value and improvements is what we should be looking at. And without understanding where value comes from, companies start to say, we're investing in this great technology, but I want to see where it's paying a dividend to my bottom line somehow. And we're going to emphasize that in the course. Uh, Value pursuit, monetizing data, improving organizations is why we do data analytics. So that's kind of a perspective. I do consulting today. When I get the right kind of project, I do. I also publish e-learning courses for other organizations, so some of them are recorded and published. So I keep busy, and I want to share some of the stuff with you in the course if I get to meet you next spring. So we can go on to the course content now, if you like. The course is, because the data analytics field is incredibly diverse. It ranges from really deep technology through sort of moderate levels of technology, through what does it mean to the organization that's using it. So there's a spectrum, and we want to cover that spectrum because ultimately, data by itself, I tell people, really has no value. Data actually costs us money to acquire. Data enables value, and it's by learning how data helps enable improved decision making, improved actions, results, and changes to our companies. That's why we do this. So we want to introduce value, and we introduce a value framework to say, what are the things, what are the needles we're moving in our company because we're investing in analytics? And can we see evidence that there's a change? And we can see that through process improvement. We can see it through better bottom line performance. But data should be the enabler to drive the insights, to improve decision making, to drive the change we're looking for. So we're going to focus on what are the building blocks of value in analytics, data. There's different kinds of data. There's in today's world, there's the whole metaphor of big data. It's all around us. So how do we harness this? How do we turn it into something useful? We want to understand how to analyze data, but before we can do that, we want to understand what kind of data exists and what are the characteristics of data. Because if we don't understand the nuances of data, we really may fool ourselves when we analyze it. We have to be careful what data quality is. How do we protect ourselves with data security, data privacy? There's ethical considerations around how data is used in companies. We'll talk a little bit about governance. The governance function puts a layer around how data is used, but that's all around enabling the analytics process. So we want to talk about, again, these different forms of data, where it exists, how we can find it out in the big bad world. There's data all over the place. Some's internal, some's external. We want to understand what kinds of analyses we can apply to data. In some cases, we simply want to monitor what's going on. In some cases, we want to understand why things are going on. Sometimes we want to predict what we expect to happen in the near term or long-term futures. Sometimes we want to get advisory solutions, say, I recommend you do this. So there's different forms of analysis, different forms of analytics. And we want to kind of draw that spectrum to say for different techniques and approaches, there's obviously different technologies, different algorithms, different modeling approaches. So we'll talk about how we analyze data using different methods and different software. Now, this course is going to be focused primarily using Excel, and that's because everybody has access usually to Excel. But pending interest in the students, I'll be demonstrating other types of software, which predominantly is either free or very, very inexpensive, and I'll demo some of that in the class. Um, uh, but we're also going to talk about what is an insight, and insights come from people asking good questions. We need people, going back to the HR perspective as well, we need people that are curious, open-minded, and have critical thinking skills. Because true value happens when you don't get fooled by a potential insight, but you don't dismiss it either. And we want to understand how we generate probing questions that analytics can help us answer to drive decisions. So people are a huge part of the solution here. We want to talk about what kinds of insights there are, how they can drive results. And sometimes we have to then publish these for other people. So visualization is a critical part of communications. And we can visualize data for ourselves. We can visualize data for others as we publish results. And we'll talk a little bit about what's called data storytelling. How do we build a narrative around what we found so our colleagues or our bosses or our clients can understand what we've learned? There's also a series of risks that organizations take on when they get into data analytics. And the risks are about misusing data, uh, breaking rules or laws or privacy regulations, security issues. There's issues around breaking ethical boundaries or ethical rules about how data is used. So we want to talk about that through the governance lens. And we'll talk about some of the major risks that we should be aware of, that we have to kind of protect ourselves as we go down the analytics path. But overall, just to summarize, I would say that this course is meant to be very high level to help people that don't have a technical background to appreciate the potential of data, to help them drive improvements and changes in their companies, and to give them the building blocks to pursue things in a deeper dive if they're so inclined. So I'll leave it at that and I'll pass it on.
All right, thank you, Mark. Your experience in consulting, working with different organizations, I think really bring a value to the course of providing your lived experience too, and insights to the class. You bring up a good point too in understanding like what the tools are and the characteristics of data before diving into the analytics and really being able to visualize. I think for me, on a personal, my experience is being able to visualize that for others and in a very clean and simple way. And so I think this course will be really helpful for that. So go into our next course, Finance Essentials. So Benny had to step away, but I could go through his portion of the presentation here. Benny, just a little background on him. He is the Director of Financial Planning and Analysis for DTE Energy, where he's responsible for advising senior management on enterprise-wide long-term financial strategies, target setting, and management reporting. Benny is an alumnus of the University of Windsor and holds an MBA with finance concentration from Wayne State University. I will give a brief overview of Finance Essentials here. So this course will introduce the area of business finance. The primary objective is to understand the fundamentals of financial management of a business through development of budgets and forecasts, analysis of projects using discounted cash flows to develop a net present value comparisons. You can tell I'm not an expert at finance. Using sensitivity analysis to see how profitability and cash flows would be affected by changes in underlying assumptions. The course will also use current and news events to illustrate how concepts are used by companies. Okay, next, I'd like to just give a little bit of an introduction for Dr. Vincent Georgi. He will be joining us a little bit later in the presentation and during the Q&A. So just a little background on Vincent. He holds a PhD in marketing and is Associate Vice President External at the University of Windsor and a marketing professor at the Odette School of Business. Vincent has worked as a marketing consultant for over 15 years in media, entertainment, consumer packaged goods, higher education, government, and retail and tourism sectors. And he is the executive director and chief programmer of the Windsor International Film Festival and participates in countless media appearances in both local and national markets. So just a little bit on marketing essentials. Marketing is an exciting field of study. It taps into your basic knowledge of economics, psychology, sociology, and other business fields, as well as your powers of observation. And that's where my own passion of marketing comes in as a marketing person, is really the ability to apply strategy and understanding consumer behaviors as well, and learning that, and particularly throughout the pandemic, the buying behaviors and just purchasing behaviors in general have changed in the past several years, 3 years or so. So it's very interesting to study that and to understand where consumers are coming from and how they behave. So in Marketing Essentials, you'll learn the principles, concepts, and techniques of marketing. A significant objective of this class is develop a basic understanding of marketing process and its roles in an organization. Additional class will be placed on marketing managers' needs to make decisions with fluctuating and limited information and better understanding client management. Also, client decision making and complexities of marketing. This course will empower you to make not only better marketing decisions, but more strategic marketing decisions as well. And so you will apply these class concepts by conducting a marketing analysis of an organization of your choice. And that would be the assignment for this course, which is very interesting to me. So the next course I wanted to provide an overview on is accounting essentials. So Matt Carlini is our instructor for this course. And just a little bit of background on him as well. He's been a sessional instructor since 2007, and he has more than 18 years of financial leadership experience within the energy, financial services, automotive, manufacturing, and public accounting industries. He is currently the VP of Corporate Services and CFO of Enwin Utilities, and is appointed to the Windsor-Essex County Humane Society Board of Directors in 2021, where he is currently serving as treasurer. He holds an MBA from the University of Michigan, along with a designation of CPA and CA. So in Accounting Essentials, you'll learn to analyze the 4 main financial statements in a company's financial health. This online accounting class delivers an overview of the various phases of accounting cycle. This includes an introduction to the theory and concepts of financial accounting, including generally accepting accounting principles and issues as to classified recognition, realization, measurement, and reporting. The emphasis of this course is from the perspective of the user of accounting information, allowing the candidate to become familiar with information available and its content value. You learn the accounting cycle and its role in preparation of financial statements. In particular, the statement of cash flows is also emphasized. So Accounting Essentials, I just wanted to note here, is the first course of the miniMBA program. And this starts February 4th. And also just a note too, if you have any questions at all about any of these courses and any particular questions for the instructors that are not here, please email us at continue@uwindsor.ca. We will make sure that we are routing the appropriate questions to the instructors and to try and get the questions answered as efficiently as possible. So the next course and final course of the mini MBA program is the Strategic Management Essentials. And just wanted to give a little bit of background on Kelso as well. So he was appointed manager of Business Center for the Business Development Bank of Canada in 2016 and lead automotive industry strategy in 2019. In this role, he leads a team of professionals in Windsor, Essex, Chatham, Kent regions, and across Ontario, dedicated to ensuring entrepreneurs have the guidance and financial support that they need to achieve their ambitions. An entrepreneur himself, Kelso was the owner-operator of 2 retail stores for close to a decade. He also holds an MBA with a concentration in strategy and finance from Odette School of Business at the University of Windsor. So this class is designed to help develop strategic problem-solving abilities of students in the mini-MBA program. The focus of the course is on application of strategic management processes, strategy principles, analytical frameworks, and tools by using a combination of lectures, readings, and active learning through case studies. In the 9-hour online module, students wear the hat of a CEO and learn how a chief executive officer applies strategy principles, conducts problem-solving, cross-functional barriers, and formulates viable business strategies in order to achieve competitive advantage for the organization in the industries. And finally, just wanted to go through some of the program details themselves. So in terms of dates and costs and all of that. So the mini-MBA certificate is 15 Saturdays. And it starts February 4th. The last day of class is June 24th. And I also want to note too that each of these courses can be taken individually. So if you only want to learn about one particular subject area, you can take them individually. But if you complete all 6 courses, you can receive the mini-MBA certificate issued by the University of Windsor Continuing Education. Really, the content and the knowledge you'll gain from the courses themselves, just by the sheer caliber of instructors and quality of content is really invaluable. And participants can complete this program. It's fairly low commitment in the fact that it's 3 hours for 15 Saturdays, Saturday mornings, so 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. There are bundle discounts available. So the regular course or program fee is $26.25. However, the bundle discount is a little bit more savings at $23.62.50, and that is if you register for all 6 courses at once. Discounts do apply for UWindsor alumni staff and students on the individual courses. And you can also ask us about the OSAP microcredential application. So each of these courses are eligible for application for OSAP if you need some temporary assistance on the fees as well. And then the Canada-Ontario Job Grant. So if you are from an organization and you want to send your team members into this program, or if you possibly would like your employer to help apply for this, employers can apply for this. There are certain criteria, but this program is eligible for that grant as well. Some of the courses require Microsoft Excel. Particularly the data analytics, accounting, and finance courses. So we do offer an introduction to Microsoft Excel that starts in January, so prior to the start of this program. And there's actually a self-assessment on our website where you can take that little questionnaire to see if you need an Excel course before starting this program as well. And any other details can be found on continue.uwindsor.ca. Again, email us, continue@uwindsor.ca if you have any specific questions, and we will try and answer them as best as we can. We're really responsive to that email too, so yes, please feel free if you think of any questions after this presentation. You're welcome to ask them through email as well. So let's go into the Q&A. And I'm having some issues here. Okay, here we go. So there was one question here. How does this help prep for PMP certification? So we have a project management course that is particularly, our accelerated project management program will prepare you for the PMP certification. We have a PMP exam prep as well. So that is a separate course. There are some project management concepts that is rolled in with this mini-MBA certificate, but we do actually recommend or advise that you have a look at our accelerated project management program that we're offering in January as well, if you would like to work towards your PMP certification. The next question is, what are the main requirements for entry? So a lot of times we get this question, but really it is, we have minimal prerequisites. The first would be willingness to learn. That is probably the most important one. And then, of course, basic computer skills and English language proficiency. Those are the other key ones. And then also, if you have some experience in work experience as well, around 3 to 5 years, that would help as well. And these are recommended prerequisites for the course. I don't know if Diana or Mark would like to jump in regarding that, but this is in general what we recommend in terms of this program. And the third is, could the mini-MBA apply to the full mini-MBA program? So the mini-MBA is non-credit and it is for professional development. So it does not contribute to a full mini-MBA, or sorry, a full MBA program. And I think, Diana, last year you had answered a similar question as well, and maybe you could speak to that a little bit more.
Absolutely. I was waiting to jump in. So recognizing, as just indicated, it is not it wouldn't meet any requirements for the MBA program, but I would actually indicate that a program such as this would be a exceptional primer for those of you who may want to look at the MBA program at Odette or any other, major university. Because I will share with you all, recognizing maybe some of you have stepped away from traditional education and as you've been working professionally, and I'll give you an opportunity not only to prepare yourself as a student, but I even think of someone as myself who has been so focused on human resources for the past 14 years, having an opportunity to refresh my understanding of the other areas of business, such as finance, accounting, marketing, would definitely prime you for success as you embark an MBA. So recognizing, preparing yourself as a professional to take on that additional higher education, this would be so valuable to you.
All right, thank you, Diana. Our speakers are welcome to have their cameras back on during the Q&A session. No, that's okay. Does the program usually fill up in advance? What's the last day to register? So last year, I could tell you that the program was full. And this was probably a week prior to the course start date. So I would recommend whenever you can, register and make sure you secure your spot because it was full last year. But really the latest that you could register for this program, I would recommend around 7 days, just because we send out all of our welcome letters and instructions to log on about a week prior. But I can tell you last year we were full already by then. Will the assignments be completed during class time? Are there additional hours required outside of class? So we could start with Diana on that answer if you'd like for your portion.
Yeah, absolutely. So there would be a little bit of a requirement to complete the assignments and outside of class. For my session in particular, it wouldn't be too cumbersome. I would say probably about, working about an hour or two on the assignments. The nice thing about the assignments, though, is they're meant to to help with things that you're already working on, right? So recognizing these are not academic assignments where you're doing, extensive research. It's more reflective in what you bring to from your previous experience and applying content that's discussed. But recognizing, I would say for my module specifically, 1 to 2 hours outside of class.
Okay, and Mark, you're on mute.
I would say the similar thing applies to the data analytics course as well. In the actual class, there will be demos, examples, but then the actual work to do it is probably an hour to an hour, maybe 1 or 2 hours uh, per class. But I can't see it being more than that. Probably less than an hour is probably reasonable for most things, depending on your proficiency. So um, my view is if you really want to learn things, you have to practice. So I think the classes expose you to ideas, but if you want to master things, I would encourage you to voluntarily spend more time if you really want to master the concept. But you don't have to do more than an hour probably per week.
Okay, thanks, Mark. So there is another question here. Okay, so back to Renee's question on the other courses as well. I would recommend allotting a few out, like less than 5 hours a week to the other courses as well. Again, like Mark and Diana had mentioned, is really just it depends on your personal interest and enthusiasm, how much work you want to put into each of your assignments. So. Well, what will be the cost of one individual course? So the costs actually vary because the course hours for each course varies as well. So if you actually check our website at continue.uwindsor.ca, you'll be able to see a breakdown on the individual course fees. Are there textbooks required? No, there are no textbooks required. Any type of reading material will be provided to you through our Brightspace, our online learning portal. So no other textbooks and no other additional fees are required. How many students are in each class approximately? So we do have a maximum of only 20 students. We do try and keep the class sizes smaller, just sort of for that sort of one-on-one relationship attention, and just a more intimate setting, and being able to know your classmates as well. So we try to keep the class sizes very small. So actually, Mark, I had a question for you regarding the data analytics program. So you had mentioned the course will be taught using Microsoft Excel, but I am curious for my own knowledge, what are the organizations using that you've experienced in terms of data analytics? I know Excel is a big one, but are there any other
Well, there's about
that you've
a
seen?
billion, a million or so. Yes, there's lots. If people want to take a deeper dive, and it depends on your interest, like there's lots of free software out there. Like programming languages like Python or like R have tremendous libraries for doing work in this space, and they have ways to visualize data and to analyze data. They're hugely rich in libraries, and they're totally free. You can download. There's other, and that's programming type stuff. If you don't want to write code, there's other solutions too. There are other platforms that are called they're called analytic workbenches, where rather than writing code, you can do drag and drops and set properties for things to do predictions or to do classifications or whatever. And an example of that is called KNIME. It's KNIME. And there's a family of products like that, and they're free. You can, for single user use, they're free. They make their money because companies buy corporate licenses to them, but for an individual, they're free. Um, Things like Power BI is a visualization tool from Microsoft, or and that's free. Tableau is another popular visualization tool. It's not free, but you can get a demo version. So there's a wealth of stuff out there, and I would say Excel could be a starting point. But if you want to write code, I'd recommend Python. I don't know R, but I know it's an equivalent kind of language to it. But I know Python fairly well, and these other kind of drag and drop platforms as well. So there's a lot of choices out there.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I believe, are there any other questions that you may have? If not, so I guess one of the things that I wanted to ask too is and this is probably a question that would be good for Diana, is what sort of roles or career opportunities uh, would be available through this program?
That's an excellent question. So one thing that HRME wants to say, anyone who values professional development is going to benefit from this course, recognizing even if you're already in a leadership role, brushing up on those fundamentals will help you with the issues you're already dealing with. Those of you who perhaps want to progress throughout your career or seek out a new opportunity, showing employers that you've invested your time and energy doing a certificate program such as this is really valuable, right? Because it's really showing the fact that you're really up to date on these best practices, that you're willing to go that extra mile to get further education in this regard. So it really could take you anywhere. I will share with you, it is recognized by employers in the sense that they understand what the certificate looks like. And I think, no matter where you're sitting, it would be definitely valuable for sure.
All right, thank you, Diana. And we have Vincent here. Welcome, Vincent. um,
Thanks, Sue. Hi.
Hi. So I did give a little bit of your career and your professional background, but if you want to just share with the group your professional background and then talk a little bit about marketing essentials, that'd be great.
For sure. Thanks, Sue. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Vincent Georgi. I'm the Acting Associate Vice President External here at the University of Windsor. So my portfolio, I lead all things marketing, public relations, media relations, government relations, alumni relations, and advancement. I'm also a tenured marketing faculty member at the Odette School of Business. I've been there now about 14 years. I absolutely love spending time with Cont Ed students. What it really is, what we do in our class is really give you I think a thorough overview of what marketing is and what it looks like, and especially how to identify it in your own organization. We actually tend to discuss a lot of issues that you're currently working through at an organizational level. So it's something you can take back to the workplace on Monday morning. But that's one piece. I think the other piece too is not getting into some of the more tactical pieces in marketing, but really just sort of staying strategic and really pick apart some of the issues. Most of my students that I've had through the years do not have marketing backgrounds at all. They tend to either intersect with marketing or have sort of a superficial understanding of it. So we do discuss how to work better with marketing departments. That's one thing for sure. But also just really tie in your marketing strategy into overall the organizational strategy and the strategic vision for the organization. This is really not a class where we're discussing, graphic design or branding or packaging or something of the sort. This is much more at a higher level, big picture, mission, vision, values. Where are you going? Is your marketing aligned to that? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And really sort of picking things apart and really taking a critical lens to it. We do a lot of discussion via real case examples. Certainly from my career, I teach a lot via storytelling. So there's an endless amount of experience that I've had certainly in my career that we can pull apart. So it tends to be a highly discussive group. That's very much what we do. We discuss together and sort of pick things apart. So that's what goes on in the course. And things are evaluations are built around. One is a team project that is discussed during the class, and then is about a few hours between meeting one and meeting two. And then we do a case in the class. It's all done during class time. And then finally, there's an individual paper that's delivered, not overly cumbersome. It's in and around about 5 pages that you're able to develop. That's really actually about marketing and issues you're facing in your own company. So the goal of that paper is for you to actually take some time to reflect on actual marketing issues you have or are facing now with a lens of learning, considering what we've covered over the past few weeks in the class. So that's really what the course looks like. But it really is quite a pleasure to teach, and the students I've had, some of them I've stayed in touch with ever since. It ultimately gives you a chance to spend a Saturday morning with a cup of coffee thoughtfully thinking about marketing issues that you've got in your organization and why you're doing certain things, and are things really paying off for you? Is that as strategic as you think it is? And just taking a critical eye to things.
All right, thanks, Vincent. Okay, are there any other questions? If not, I can put our email in the chat, continue@uwindsor.ca. Any questions you can think of after this, please just email us and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you so much. And thank you to our speakers as well. It's been a pleasure. It's always, I always love talking to you guys. So thank you. Oh, there's someone typing. Let's see. Oh, thank you very much. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending as well. Thank you to all our attendees. Much appreciated. And we will see everyone hopefully in the class.
Looking forward. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye. Bye now.
Bye.